What makes the web work?
Information and academics.
Passion.
I think it's information.
Electricity.
I think the web works on trust.
Developers.
Connected humans.
We do.
The people.
It's the people.
Totally people.
People make the web work.
Hello and welcome to Web Sessions. My name is Steve Persh of Pantheon, and we are here at Evolve Digital in Manhattan. I'm sitting here with Jeremy Goldman, Senior Director at eMarketer. Jeremy, I want to start with a broad question for you. What makes the web work?
I mean, I think what makes the web work, honestly, is the fact that there are so many people who are getting a ton of value out of it, you know, across a whole lot of different types of jobs, but also obviously everyday consumers. If you go into, you know, we're here in Manhattan, if you go into any first floor of any building, you will see 9,000 Amazon packages that are, you know, ready to be brought up. And a lot of people are getting a lot of value, but it's not obviously just from that. It's from the information that they're getting, the recommendations that they're getting from LLMs, you know, like there's all this different infrastructure behind the scenes that's providing these really cool experiences for people.
Yeah, there's endless interconnectivity here, and I'm curious what you make of the increasing dependence on large platforms. You said there are thousands of Amazon boxes in the first floor of every building. Yeah, Amazon boxes. What do you make of the consolidation in larger and larger platforms? Is it healthy for the web to have some platforms getting so large that, you know, for some people, Santa Claus is Amazon?
You know, so it's a really good question. I mean, in short answer, and I don't get to actually answer things in this exact way, but no, it's actually better to have a little bit of choice out there. The major big companies that we're talking about now, they're all pushing one another, but there's less of an opportunity for a second or third tier to push everybody else unless they have like a meaningful chance to compete. So probably more competition, and I'm being very oversimplistic here, but generally speaking, competition in this area would probably be a good thing if we could get a bit more versus a bit less.
Yeah, I think competition can drive innovation. And in your career, what have been some of the shifts in innovation that have changed the way that you work?
You've got, what, 3 hours? Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the top things, obviously, for me at least, as being like a huge nerd, is to build a bunch of integrations through APIs and hook things together. That to me is one of the best ways of, you know, finding ways to, you know, get little competitive advantages with other people and using, you know, services like a Zapier or if this then that. Back in the day, you know, finding interesting ways, and then more recently it's been, you know, building little web apps for myself, you know, from a vibe coding standpoint that I can actually get, you know, real value out of. So obviously there's so many different ways where if you're somewhat technical, you can get an advantage by thinking about something and doing it and building it in a way that you previously like would have been, it sounded like if I told you 20 years ago, oh, I'm going to just think of an idea and then I'm going to implement it today, at least like at a very low level, somebody would think I'm on drugs, you know, and I might be, but yeah, like I can still actually accomplish that.
Right, and the drive or the desire to accomplish the thing is sometimes more important than the pre-existing skill. Knowing you work at eMarketer, one of the trends that I see right now is a kind of blurring of roles. You're talking about a marketer or yourself being able to click things together in Zapier, the rise of vibe coding. It seems like roles are getting blurrier. Is that something you're seeing in your work, that the divide between developer tasks or marketer tasks is less sharp than it was a few years ago?
I think it's a really good point, and I really wouldn't have thought of it, you know, until you mentioned it. But now that I think about it, the very fact that if you have an idea that you can prototype it, what that means is that you don't have to necessarily go to somebody else in order to do that, right? And likewise, a developer can say, hey, in my spare time, I have this really cool idea, and I'm not really a marketer, but let me try to tap into those innate marketing skills that I feel like I have, right? That there's a way for people to embrace other skill sets that they have at their disposal, in part because of all the tools that are available to us. And I think that the whole entire, do you know Python or whatever? It's these types of things are going to matter less and less, and more it's going to be, do I have the ingenuity to think of something and to maybe be able to explain to a platform, I want to build this, and to be articulate. Those types of things I think are still going to matter, but the underlying coding abilities of the average person, like that, those don't necessarily have to get, you don't have to get to be more technical. You have to just be able to learn how to embrace the tools that we have at our disposal.
Sure. How do you recommend someone navigate that journey or extending oneself into different areas in the professional context? A few years ago, I gave a presentation titled something like Tool or Toy, Exploring the Internet of Things. Part of the idea I wanted to communicate is that I'm toying with the Internet of Things. Doesn't necessarily mean I'd be comfortable working with Internet of Things in a professional context. It's one thing for me to, as I was then, write some C++ code that only runs on my own Arduino. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm comfortable writing Arduino C++ code for professional usage. How should a professional responsibly extend themselves into technologies and systems that they're not trained in or have professional experience in previously?
So I think that now it's easier than ever to, whether or not it's querying an LLM or going into AI mode for Google and just getting really deep into a subject, it's as simple as saying, there's something that I want to know more about, and let me start to dive in and grab information and then figure out, does this sound appealing to me? Can I try something? Can I find a tutorial online that's going to allow me to actually try something that I've always thought about but I haven't necessarily done? You know, just think about, like, we're talking about 20 years ago versus 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It's moved so quickly to the point that the information that you might need in order to try something is closer to your fingertips than ever. And I feel like we're getting pretty close to the point where, like, I can just get like a USB drive, like, clicked into here and then just directly, like, put the information in. But, like, in all seriousness, like, think about if you wanted to maybe think about medical school, right? That was something where, well, you had to work really hard and then go to medical school. And I'm not saying, like, necessarily you should do any procedures on people without a proper education, but you can research these things in a way that's and start to essentially vibe coding, vibe surgery. Like, maybe we can make that a
Vibe surgery
term.
was the term that I was thinking of.
Yeah. But information is easier to come by than ever before, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're here at Evolve Digital. This is an opportunity to exchange ideas. Are there any presentations that you've seen here that you expect will stick with you beyond this week?
Mine was really good.
Yes. Yeah.
But
What was and remind me again, what was the main idea there?
I mean, in all seriousness, I did talk about the rising tide of AI and how that's going to encourage and create a level of expectation for personalization. But I think that that's one thing that is something that I've been studying a lot and paying a lot of attention to, both from a B2C and B2B standpoint. Everybody's relationship with personalization is going to get to be just a lot different in terms of what do you expect from a brand.
Yeah.
And I think that that whole entire idea of AI slop, where everybody puts out very lo-fi assets and they just try to dump so many of them on the customer, in reality, that's going to go away in a few years, and people are going to say, how can I essentially deliver a home run with every single interaction that I have with the customer? That should be the end goal, and I think that's going to be a lot more achievable through AI. But right now we're in the idiot phase of marketing, and I think we're going to get a little bit more sophisticated. You tend to see this with every cycle. I know you've been around a while, where something shows up and people are like, cool, and then you start to do a lot of things with it that are not what the best use cases for that technology, but you don't realize that immediately. It takes like a few years.
Do you have specific milestones or stepping stones you expect to be hit or stepped upon in the journey between endless AI slop that we see now and those repeatable home runs that you foresee? What's in between here and there?
For a lot of organizations, what it's going to be is there's going to be a bit of, frankly, what I'm kind of predicting, typical organization burnout, because people are trying to do too much. Their lives aren't getting better because they have access to all these tools. And then it always happens where you lose a good person, you've got somebody new in the seat, and then you say, what do we need to do now? And sometimes the answer is going to wind up being slow down and figure out who are the personas that we're trying to reach and how do we create compelling content that's going to speak directly to them. And that's going to be a little bit of a reset to focus on not just the quality of big numbers, but the quality of like essentially small numbers, right? Because if I could, just to flip this around, if I could send 200,000 visits to the Pantheon website right now, or I could send 75 really highly qualified ones, and I didn't tell you anything about the first group, I mean, I think the answer is you probably do prefer the really highly qualified ones, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I'll send them to you after we're done
great.
recording.
Great. All right.
But that's
Kevin, coming your way.
And I think that that's really what we're kind of forgetting, the fact that these tools are going to allow us to be laser focused to, like, why don't you try to aim for 100% conversion rate? Why don't we? We accept the fact that like so many of our organizations we work with are at like 3% conversion. And like, why does it have to be that way? Let's not get any of the wrong people to our sites and on our social, and let's get only the right people there.
That sounds like a plan to me. I mean, yeah, I suppose when was the last time I personally questioned email conversion rates? They're so darn low. Why are we sending out emails that no one wants to click, or that only 1% of people, or less than 1% of people?
Because it's really cheap.
I guess so.
Make
that is the literal answer.
Make it 25 cents to send every single email, and I guarantee you people will clean their lists, right? And they'll think long and hard, does everybody have to see every single communication?
Free business idea out there for MailChimp or anyone else operating an email platform. Charge 25 cents per email as a way of forcing people to send better emails.
MailChimp is nearby. Can we move these cameras? We could go on the road. They're a few blocks down the road.
All right, we'll pitch them Shark
Okay.
Tank style.
Let's do it.
All right, Jeremy Goldman, thanks so much for chatting with me here today. Can I get a high five before we go?
Absolutely.
All right.
This is great. Thank you,
Jeremy,
so much.
I'll see you on the internet.